So I'm just here for the hot dogs.
With mustard?
Mustard. We got plenty of mustard.
The Mustard Tiger, Moe Khan.
Yeah. I know we're a little bit late here, but we're live on air from Sportier Cage or from the armpit of St. Leonard, but now from Papineau. We were here once, were we not? Way back in week 1?
We are. Everything in life goes in full circle. Yes. You know, we were here in week 2 to commence the season.
Yep.
We've passed 10, 11 beautiful weeks in Rob's basement or FPF studios. And now we've come back for the final episode of the 2017 spring show before heading to the road show on Saturday.
The last day of school. How about that?
And for the record, we're not late because we're late. We're late because the fire department told us to leave the building.
Really?
Yeah. Because this shit's so hot. No. But seriously,
there was a fire. Yeah. The fire department was here. Alex Dakla and I'll jump on that. We're here at 7 p.m. sharp for the beginning of the show. And we're supposed to start at 7:15.
Yeah.
And the firemen didn't allow us in, so we had to wait. Of course, Moe Khan wasn't here until much later than that.
Moe Khan went to Sportier.
I went to Sportier, but I got here with like 2 minutes before we went on air. But
I
had plenty of time. All right, let's dive into it. It is now the finals. We are here. We are now about 72 hours away from knowing who will be the winners for Div D1, Div D2. Let's recap Tuesday's games that has more relevancy than the Sunday games. We'll go Div D1 first. SOB, Backyard Bruisers, a thriller coming down to the last play. Rich Humes extending his INT streak to 7 games in a row with an INT, and this one was the best of the bunch because that ended the game and sealed the deal for Bruisers to go on to the next round, now the finals. I came away impressed with Brendan Burke. First half, a little bit frenetic. Second half, he played phenomenal. He made, as I told you guys off air, he made probably the season-defining play of the year, 2 of them. 4th and 1, converts it for a first down. Next play, hits a corner route in between the safety and corner for the touchdown to put them up by 5, and they win by 5. And now here they are in the finals. Surprised that Bruisers beat probably an SOB team that was probably favored going into this game?
Well, I'm not surprised. I've been a proponent of the Bruisers since about week 7 or so when they made the quarterback switch to Brendan Burke from Chris Pendenza. I thought that really solidified the roster. It really brought back the old Bruisers, the ones that we're used to from seasons past, where they rely on their gritty defense and their offense just pumps the ball through Rich Humes and they get into scoring position. Straight Out of Breath was very confident going into this game, weren't they?
Well, let's say when I walked by them before the coin toss to get the score sheet, they were pretty confident that they would win this game. I won't say what they said, but they were confident they're going to win the game very easily. Let's put it that way.
Very easily.
Very easily. I'm using a diplomatic term.
So perhaps there was an element of underestimating their opponent in this one, which is fairly easy to do if the Bruisers roster. You look at them, you say, hey, it's fairly top-heavy. We'll lock down Rich Humes, and we shouldn't have a problem. Much like the other team that are going to the finals against GLC and their superstar player, it's much harder to actually accomplish that than it is to go and say you're going to do that. Right. And Rich Humes had a big game. He caught 9 balls for 86 yards and 2 TDs, so obviously he had his way with the defense, and they weren't able to stop him.
No, and a lot of drop balls from SOB. And I think you look Max Marini, he was motivated by my words of wisdom. And I actually picked, as you know, SOB to win the first 2 games of the playoffs. And then had we done a podcast prior, I probably would have had them favored against Backyard Bruisers. But it's quite the anomaly, right? He puts up over 230 yards passing, I believe, in the game. And they lose. 3 INTs. One was a pick 6. And, of course, the one that ended the game here. And you can see I guess you couldn't console them on that loss, and the fact that the points or the penalties that they took and drop balls that they had could have been different for them.
For sure.
At the end of the day, Brendan Burke was the better quarterbacks in the second half.
More polish. He's been on that stage before.
Yeah.
He was in the semifinals last year in this very same division. So he knows what it takes to win at that level, which is the key, of course, being avoiding mistakes.
Right.
And Max Marini this season showed that he's a blossoming young quarterback in this league, particularly in the lower divisions. He showed a lot of positives, yet he also showed that he still has some growing room to do, like some growing pains. For example, in this game, 239 yards, 5 TDs, beautiful, as you'd expect in a semifinal game. However, the 3 INTs were the major blemish, and that's what's going to cost them.
Drop balls too. But I wonder, Alex, where they go. I mean, are they a higher quality 5A team, or are they sort of a 4B team? They're sort of in between, a tweener of a roster, because obviously Shaq Lattimore might go back to the U and others might go back to other teams here. So this might be a one and done. I don't know, but we'll see what happens moving forward. But for the Backyard Bruisers, we'll get more in depth with the preview of their finals. A huge win, and you can sort of see the confidence oozing for them. But on the flip side, you look at GLC, they handled your team, Frosty Bronzes, very easily, as they won 40-25. You look at Jaime Lewong, who had a phenomenal game. At one point, he was perfect going in late into the first half, 17-21 for 6 TDs. Manny Carishon had a good game. This was probably a balanced attack here, and as I told Max Kevin Jocelyn, my apologies, this is a team that's caught lightning in a bottle. You don't want to call them Cinderella, but this is what they are. 0-5 start. They were 7-1 to finish off the season, going into the finals now, and here they are for a chance to win a title in their franchise's history.
I think it's absolutely incredible, the development of GLC this season, not only because of what happened to them the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, not getting the win, but also because of the absolutely miserable winter campaign they just experienced.
It was awful.
The core of this team went through a 1-9 winter season, went 0-4, 0-5, I believe, to begin the spring season. It looked dismal. It looked like all hope was lost, and then they just turned it around. Like the light turned on. What is it, Eagle?
I was going to say, isn't it fun when Mocon writes off a team at the first week because of previous experience?
No, don't do that. Don't put the onus on Mo here.
When they were 0-3, when we were 0-3,
Khalil Kerr effect.
No, when they were 0-3, we said this is a team that should be much better than what they are. And maybe it's a chemistry thing with Jaime Lewong learning to play with these guys. And they changed their fortunes around. They figured it out. They figured out what they did well on both sides of the football. And watching them play against you guys, it just felt like they were on a different level from where the Bronzes were.
From a quick on-field perspective of what we saw from them, it was phenomenal flag football in lower divisions. Jaime Long was composed. His hand was steady. Like, this guy was so calm. He's so cool and collected. He just kind of took what he wanted from our defense.
Right.
And as the defensive play caller, what I know firsthand is that he was one step ahead of us all the time. We would switch our coverage. He would run the perfect play to beat that coverage. I would try to upset the rhythm that we were calling our defensive plays with, yet he was still ahead of us. So he was absolutely in his element in this one, and he utilized his main weapon, Manny Carishon, excellently. He hit him short in order to press us up, and then when we had to change our defense because we couldn't stop them from getting those short completions, then he beat us over the top with Mendy as well. So and he used other guys like Alex Andrescu, who made some phenomenal plays on the outside. So all hats off to Green Lantern Corps. They look like in a completely different team. Like, they pulled a 180 entirely, and now they're just playing like some beautiful
house
football.
Money. They're on house money right now, and they have not failed yet. They have one more roll of the dice on Sunday, and they can perhaps complete it with the championship ring. Who knows? We'll find out, and we'll preview that game momentarily. Let's just recap Div D2, and then we'll get into the finals right now. Okay, Trinity beats the Vikings, as I told you off air. A fast start for the Trinity roster. They were guns a-blazing, and then gradually as the game progressed, you saw the Vikings regain their confidence, but I think it was running out of racetrack. They couldn't convert on the 2-point opportunity, and they ended up losing by 2. And I feel for the Vikings because they probably, as you and I both agreed, we thought they would have a strong chance to go to the finals, and the one team that the Trinity did not want to face, they overcame that fear and beat them finally by 2 points.
Absolutely. If you would have asked me to pick the winner, I would have taken the Vikings. I thought they had the momentum. I thought they had the look of a championship caliber team. They look so complete. One guy for Trinity who had a monster game is Benjamin Danso-Leclerc. Rusher all season. Hasn't been highly acclaimed, perhaps was overlooked a little bit. This one he saved his best for last. He had 3 sacks in this game, absolutely interrupted the flow of Nicolas Gendron-Vallée in the backfield. And like you said, the early turnovers, stumbling out of the gate a little bit from the Vikings, kind of hindered them, and it allowed Trinity to get comfortable and get into rhythm. Well, just Trinity team is very powerful, Mo. This Trinity team is something, it's going to be exciting to cover them in the finals.
Well, they were up 23-12 after the first half, right? But you're absolutely right about that, Alex, where I thought I was worried about them midseason because they had some bad games that they lost, didn't play well, and the ones that they won, they weren't convincing. But they've turned it on. They've turned it on. Alexis Bissett, who they got from the Spartans in Division E, has been quite the revelation for them because he changes the offense in a different way that he can turn a 5-yard hook into a touchdown.
Yeah,
and go ahead. Sorry, Alex.
The other thing is that these guys are gamers. Jean-Félix Marquis, we were calling him out a bit a couple weeks ago for too many turnovers. Had the nice touchdown numbers, but his turnovers were a little bit too high for our liking. And what does he do? He goes in the semifinals and he pitches almost a perfect game, right? Like a 4 TD to 0 INT performance. Keeps the turnovers down, lets his incredibly athletic roster take over and win the game for him. So these guys are gamers. They know how to step up and elevate when the pressure's on, and that's what they did in this game, and that's what they'll try to replicate in the finals.
Probably the best game in terms of the physical, mental aspect of it, of how taxing it was post-game, was, of course, Le Montagnard taking on the Ravens, and the Ravens win in overtime, a thriller. This was a boxing match, like not a 12-round, but a 15-round battle here. They went back and forth, going punch for punch here. Offenses couldn't do anything at all. Alex Davis, as you see, his stats weren't that great, as was JF Sear. This, in my opinion, watching from both sides, watching your game, of course, in this one, defense was the calling card. And at the end of the day, the Ravens, or as you like to call them, what?
Les Ravins.
Les Ravins, they came through. And they win by 1 in overtime, and now they move on to the finals. And we talked about the roster. This is a team that's loaded with experience in FPF, and they've gone deep with individual players.
Yeah, for sure. And Alex David had mentioned on Facebook this week that this is the 4th finals in a row which he's participating in consecutive seasons. So obviously, sticking with this core, Mathieu Houle, Marc-Antoine Vallée has paid dividends for him. He looks rejuvenated, having gone to the quarterback position. He's, you know what? We're gonna when we do the tale of the tape in the finals matchup, we're gonna look a bit at at his stats. He hasn't had the most explosive performances so far in the playoffs, but I think he's the type of gamer who's just saving his best for last, and he really knows how to play within the reins of his team and also utilize those guys to the best of ability. Marc-Antoine Vallée, particularly impressive performance with 4 sacks in this one. Defensive 3 Player of the Year. Only played 6 games, just qualified for the playoffs for Les Ravins, and now he just kind of exploded in the semifinals, and he's going to look to repeat that performance once again.
And for the Montagnard, a lost season. They were the poll leader from the get-go. They had a relatively easy division. They had a relatively easy path to the conference final. And they must feel very empty-handed right now, knowing that they could have been punching their ticket to the finals and to take on to Trinity, which probably would have been the best of the sexier matchup appeal to it. But you wonder now, moving forward, Le Montagnard, what their mindset is, because this is a team that had talent to work with, and they couldn't come through.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't... I can't say that it was a lost season for them. This is the first time that this core is together. JF Sear is a developing quarterback. He showed a lot of positives this season. He'll come back. He'll hopefully he'll be able to retain some of the talent that he had this year, especially the Viens brothers if they can. I think Fred Viens is going away for school, so I think he'll be ineligible.
That's tough.
But winter season's still a whiles away, so anything can happen by then. But
he's 6 to be eligible.
Tip of the hat to Montagnard. They really impressed us this year. They were our favorite story to cover for a large part.
Good group of guys.
Good group of guys as well.
Big
and they
fans
just
of ours.
They just fell just short to a more experienced Ravens team.
Ravens, not Ravens or Ravens, Le Ravens. All right, let's talk about the finals now. Let's go to D1. We'll go with that game first. We got Backyard Bruises against GLC, Cinderella against a team in Backyard Bruises who are Cinderellas, because guess what? They are the away team, where we think that GLC, they too are our lower tier team here. Now, the key that I have for you in this matchup is this game on Brennan Burke, who had a bad start in the first half against SOB. Is it on him to have a better start for this team to have a chance to beat a GLC team that's played very well on defense?
This is going to be a very tactical game. I saw some of the members of the Bullies, the Bruisers, after our game, and I told them, I'm so interested to watch this just to see how you guys game plan for one another, because both these teams look so similar on paper. They both have quarterbacks who can be defined as scrappy at times. They're not exactly sexy to watch throw the ball on the football field. However, they can matriculate. They can throw the little jabs and punch their way downfield with completions and put up points on the board. Secondly, they're both headlined by two incredible superstars, Mendy Kardashian for GLC versus Rich Humes for Backyard Bruisers. Very arguably the top two players in this division from the beginning of the season onwards, and these guys will likely go head-to-head in an epic matchup throughout the entire game. And they're both supported by incredibly talented depth players, guys who know how to play their role, play it to execution, and support their superstar and the quarterback. So I think this is a completely well-balanced matchup, and absolutely, to your point, Brendan Burke will have to come out of the gate coming out of the gate perfect, because the mistake Frosty Bronson's did is we missed our first drive of the game against them, and it was already too late. We were behind the 8 ball at that point. When GLC starts rolling, they can play a near perfect game. So Bruisers will want to maintain stride for stride or take the lead early on if they start with the ball.
I think the key for the Bruisers is their missed tackles that they had against SOB. They can ill afford to allow a routine, say, 5-yard in to end up being a 25-yard gain, and that's what happened. They had far too many missed tackles that allowed SOB to knock on the door. And I think going up against Jaime Long offense that's very patient, guys find themselves open, and once they do, they can exploit that to their advantage. So I think they got to be much better defensively tackling players. I think you look at GLC, their emotions, it's what's going to carry them in a positive way. They as you saw on Tuesday, right? They were very boisterous. They were vocal. They're cheering each other on after every play, making sure everyone was on point. If they can maintain that focus again, there's no question in my mind they will make this a much closer game than what many people would have never thought of this happening at this point in the season. Two teams, lower end seeds coming into the finals.
They're both 8 seeds going in.
That's crazy.
This is an incredible.
We've had 2 8 teams.
I haven't seen this in a long time, if ever, since I've been following FPF. You have a 3-7 Backyard Bruisers going against a 4-6 GLC. So
crazy.
Two teams with losing records who just turned it on at the end of the year, have beaten everybody in their past, slayed all the Goliaths, and now they're squaring off against each other. So 2 underdog stories, 2 teams that you could really get behind and root for, and they also match up so similarly. It's going to be such an intriguing game to cover, and I can't wait for you and I to cover it together on Sunday night at Brossard.
Let me ask this question here. Would one Jaime Long turnover be equivalent to, say, 2 Brendan Burke turnovers? Because Jaime Long never really turns over the ball, whether it's a INT or turnover on downs. Do you think if he turns it over once, that could be the difference maker for the Bruisers to have a chance to win this football game?
You know what? I think that the level of tactical game planning that's going to go into this, and I say this because I know Backyard Bruisers, we've faced them numerous times. We have kind of a storied rivalry with them, and I know the way that they like to game plan and the way that they alter their style for a particular matchup. So they're going to definitely come in with a focus on how to stop GLC. And having just played GLC, I know that they can game plan. There was actually 4 guys kind of spying me running my routes at all levels of the field, because they knew that I was the likely top target for Bronson's, and if you take that away, it'll make James uncomfortable, and that's what worked effectively for their defense. So they had an excellent executed game plan, which they'll probably try to replicate against Rich Humes this week in. So I think that there's going to be a few turnovers in this game. I don't think it's going to be a pristine kind of 40-38 score. I think maybe lowering scoring, maybe like 28-26 or 32-28 or something like that. I would call early off. It's going to be very tight, mind you, I think. But look, between the two quarterbacks this playoffs, Brendan Burke, 14 TDs to 1 INT only. Jaime Long, 17 TDs to 3 INT. So Jaime Long, although he's very proficient and he's very patient and poised, has turned the ball over once per game. Brendan Burke is actually the quarterback who has only 1 turnover in 3 games, which has truly been a phenomenal story to follow. Yeah,
I think we're going to see slow starts and then a better finish. How about that?
I think so. I can see that for sure.
Division D2, Trinity against the Ravin. All right, these two teams, this is probably the best matchup of the Ds, right, because of the power names involved in this game here.
Yeah.
I think for Trinity, their biggest MO has been their deep balls. They're
deep balls.
Part of my expression. But if the Ravens can contain that, and we know Trinity loves going to that first play deep ball where Jeff Mickey rolls to his right, goes cross-body like a Carm Pliche play almost.
Yeah.
If they can contain that, they have a chance to win this football game. It's crazy as it sounds, but they have a chance to win this game if the deep ball is eliminated by the Ravens?
I think the Ravens will definitely have to alter their game plan for Trinity more than Trinity will have to alter for the Ravens, simply because the Ravens is a very methodical, slow-marching attack. I think Alex David has been averaging about 8 to 8.5 yards per pass in these playoffs, which is very low, whereas Trinity averages about 12 to 13, 14 yards per pass, which is a deep ball offense. These two teams, like we just said with D1, they're so similar. These two teams couldn't be further apart. In Trinity, you have the most explosive offense with the lowest scoring defense, and in the Ravens, you have the second lowest scoring defense. So you have the classic tale of offense versus defense in this one, and Ravens will definitely have to alter that, take away the deep ball, because we've seen... You know what? It's tough to say because he's coming off an excellent semifinal game, but we've seen JF Marquis throw a ton of picks at times throughout the course of the year. And if you could force him to get off his comfort level and to put the ball into areas where he doesn't want to put them, but he will anyways, then you can kind of gain the upper hand, glean the upper hand a little bit in that sense, and that's something Ravens are definitely going to have to try to do because otherwise this offense is too explosive.
I think you make a great point, right? The yards per pass, right? So let's just say Alex David has 8 yards per pass. That's 5 plays to get to the end zone, right? Whereas you look at Trinity, it's 3.5 plays, right, on 12 yards, right? I think if Alex David can control the time clock in favor and keep JF Marquis on the sidelines, it benefits them more because they're the type of team, the Trinity, that needs to score points, right? And they do it very efficiently. They will go 2-3 plays, deep ball, and score. Whereas with the Ravens, you look at Alex David, he's a smart quarterback. That entire team has a lot of FPF championship experience. They can use that to their benefit, slow it down, muck it up. And when you have a guy like Matthew Uhl, I'm just trying to figure out who can line up with him. Jumaville, Sampson maybe. I don't know who can line up with a guy like Matthew Uhl. If you look at his red zone targets, it's tough. It's a tough matchup for Trinity to go up against him.
If you look at the tail of the tape of quarterbacks in this one, JF Marquis, 13 TDs to 1 INT in these playoffs. Alex David, 10 TDs to 6 INTs. So JF Marquis, as much as he's been turnover prone in the past, has really reeled in his turnovers throughout this playoffs run, and he's really transformed this play to make himself a poised, effective playoff quarterback. Alex David has been the one who's been struggling through these 3 games, yet he remains unfazed. He has complete confidence in his team and his defense's ability to bail him out when they need to and to keep him in position to win the game late. So I think of the 2 teams, as you mentioned, Trinity needs to score, like you said, because when Trinity stops scoring, they start to question themselves a little bit. They start to say, oh no, could this be the collapse? You know, they're always on that precipice moment. That angst. Yeah. Whereas Ravens don't have any angst. They could miss 2-3 drives in a row and be like, it's okay, guys, we'll get a couple stops, we'll still be in this. So I think that you're absolutely right on that point. Trinity's going to have to get that offensive machine rolling and rolling early, and Ravens are going to have to try to throw a fork in that.
One X factor.
One X factor?
Who would be the X factor for
of course, I'm going to say Mike Adana for the Ravens. I think if Mike Adana had 5 tackles in the semifinals, if he can be over the field defensively like he was, and if he can keep snapping and keep moving the chains for Alex David on those short balls that he loves to throw, then Mike Adana could be the engine that moves the Ravens closer towards the championship.
I think Alexei Bissett could be the guy for Trinity. As I said to you before, he can turn a 5-yard routine catch into a touchdown, and if he can somehow gape or slash the fabric of the Ravens defense, this could definitely open up more avenues for JF Marquis. So I think he'll be the X factor in this game. So we'll see how this plays out moving ahead here. All right, it is now time for our predictions. We're running out of clock here because we know we're behind schedule. It is now time for our predictions. We'll go Division D1. Who do you have winning, GLC or Backyard Bruisers?
Like I said, amazing game. It's going to go down to the wire. I have GLC pulling this one out, not because I just saw them play firsthand, but because I truly believe that, like you said last week, this is a team of destiny, and they've bought into that 100%, and I think they complete their destiny this week.
I think the Bruisers have this game. It'll be a close one. It'll come down to extra point conference, which, by the way, you look at Bruisers, they missed, I believe, on 6. They could have won by 10 or 11 against SOB. I think it will come down to converts, and I think Bruisers will correct that and win this game by 1 or 2 points. All right, Div D2 final.
Who do I got?
Who you got?
This is going to be a good one, Mo. You gotta give me the as much as my mind is telling me to pick the Ravens because they have that playoff experience. They have that. Alex David's been 4 years in a row consecutively to the finals. They have the Alpha T core roster essentially. I'm going to take Trinity on this one. I'm going to go with my heart. I think Trinity is a team that's riding a wave of exuberation right now. Yeah. And I think Trinity just needs to, if they can score on that first drive, I think they're going to be like, okay, guys, we're here, and this is it. This is our time. So Trinity for me on the win.
I agree. I think it's a sweep here. I think Trinity does win this football game. This will be, I think this, to the surprise of many, this will be a high-scoring game. I think it'll be a slow first series for both teams. They'll figure each other out from the second series and beyond. Give me the Trinity to win this game by at least 5 points, if not more than that.
It's going to be a very emotional game, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Eagle, who do you have winning? We're just wrapping up here. Bruisers, GLC. Who do you have winning? Bruisers or GLC?
I got Bruisers with a GLC meltdown. I think the pressure's going to get to them.
Okay, and then we have Le Ravin, or as Alex says, and you have Trinity. Who do you have winning that game?
So you guys know that Alex David needs to make a choice as captain on who's going to play for his roster this week.
Exactly.
I think that's going to actually play mind games within the team itself. So I'm going with Trinity on the well-rounded squad.
Clean sweep. All right, fair enough then. All right, let's just wrap it up here. Many thanks to everyone who tuned into the podcast this year. It was a lot of fun doing Div D1 with you, Alex, and Div D2. A lot of people tuned in, and that's the beauty of this podcast. Obviously, people take it maybe a little bit personally with what we say, but we do it in good fun here. At the end of the day, you guys are here to play recreational football, and at the end of the day, you want to win. Some do, some don't, and you move on.
Mo, it was a pleasure. I had a great time co-hosting the show with you.
Blasting and all this stuff, yes.
I think to Division D1 and D2, thank you very much for the consistent excellence on field throughout the course of the season. You gave us excellent narratives to follow each week. I feel like even if we called some people out at times, we always rewarded them for excellent play.
Absolutely.
And it was a pleasure and it was a privilege. So look forward to us on Sunday night hosting the Div 1 game, and I'll be doing the Div 2 with Pease de la Reese.
And you and I have Div 1, so we wrap up the Division Ds with you and I.
Exactly. So you'll see these knuckleheads one more time at least.
Absolutely. A big thank you to Eagle, of course, and of course to Rob Campana and Pease de la Reese for allowing us to do what we did. It was a lot of fun here. Don't worry, Sunday in Broadside, we'll have the live broadcast.
Come watch, actually. As much as we're going to try and get the live working this year, come watch it live. It's such a good experience.
Yep.
Talk to the media members, socialize with other people that are at the field.
I won't talk to you,
and just watch some crazy games.
Absolutely.
They're always good
and
games.
Watch Eagle implode when things don't go his way. That's the best part.
Sunday's fun day at Broadside. We're all happy Eagle lost in Division E, so he'll be here to push the buttons as he usually does.
5 and 6, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's 5.
We start at 4.
Late afternoon. So come after 5 o'clock, we'll have the Div D2 and Div D1. All right, Eagle, Alex Alawak, Mo Khan. Good night to all the playoff teams. We have 4 more left here. 2 will be winners. We'll find out on Sunday night in Broadside. So tune in or come to Broadside and enjoy the broadcast and games.